Thank you.
Masi Chumo, how are you?
Katika stesheni ya Wakenya, Radio Jambo. Radio Jambo, habari za biashara na
Anastasia,
KCBA Asset Finance.
Hello, Richard.
Hello.
how are you doing? Anastasia, we are listening.
I'm fine,
Anastasia, you
thank
can
you.
mute.
Yes?
Kindly mute yourself. I don't know if it is you or who.
Okay.
Radio Jambo, Radio Jambo.
As we reflect on human capital development, we will do well to place it in the context of the emerging new world of digital technology. Sub-Saharan Africa
Hi,
has for a
Richard.
long time scored the
Hi, how
lowest
are you?
human capital
Anastasia,
projects.
we are listening to your conversation.
Ushuru kwa mwaka mzima unaoisha Disemba mwaka 2022. Hili ni ongezeko la asilimia 34 la faida kutoka kwa shilingi bilioni 8.6 iliyoripotiwa katika kipindi kama hicho mwaka 2021. Benki ya daraja la moja
Uh,
ilihusisha
uh,
ukuaji huu mzuri unaoendelea. Utekelezaji ni mafanikio wakati wake wa aina
Hosea,
kufikia
can you can mute
wake
Anastasia.
watatu na wa mwisho unaolenga miongoni mwa mambo mengine ukuaji wa biashara na ufanisi kwa uendeshaji.
Thank you. I was hearing Radio Jambo and the human capital issues. Yes, Mercy, I'm very fine. Hannah, very well. Where else is that I've not greeted? Agnes Rono, you're welcome to the conversation. Anastasia, Catherine Wanjiko, Charity Owiti, Dahabo, you're welcome. Clara Lama, my good friend Doreen Kang, you're welcome. Dorothy Chepkoech, Elizabeth Mbogwa, you're welcome. Esther Madenge, Eunice Nyokabi, Felix Kimoy, Fidelis Otwani, Frederick Onyango, you're welcome. Frida Washira, you're welcome. Hannah Mbogwa, Ivy, my classmates. Jen Gishuru, you're welcome. Jason Akonga, Masichumo, Minayo Mulama, welcome. Nyokabi Warobi, welcome. Onyango Dan, Rebecca, Dr. Rebecca Marina, you're welcome as well. Rose, Wanjiko, Sol, Munoko, you're welcome. Thank you, my friend, you're welcome. Good to see you around. Sharon Hainja, Vivian Akonya, also my good friend, you're welcome. I can see also Nancy, my good friend, has popped in. I hope you had a wonderful day. Christine Omondi, you're welcome. You're hiding.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I have sent you the link. Ozaya, you can mute Hadija. Good, thank you. Hadija, you're welcome. That is good music. All right. Good. We will start in the next 5, not 45. That's a lot. We'll start in the next 2 minutes. We'll start in the next 2 minutes. So before we start, I want you to, on your chat, you should send an emoji of how your day was. If your day was good, you can send a smiling or a happy emoji. And if your day was bad, you can send an emoji of sadness, but we will make sure that you get out of this place happy. I want you to smile like Mercy Chumo's picture, where the dental formula is out there completely. Mercy, yeah, Anne Monene, thank you very much. You are happy. John Miner, you are very, very happy. Anne Miner, you're very happy. Sharon Hinja, I can see an angel. Thank you very much. Yes, you can spread those angelic. Anna, you're saying Kidole. Who else? Who else is saying something? Say something. So Vivian, you cannot just sit there. You just have to say something. Doreen, my friend, I can see you're very happy. Minayo, I can see you're umefurahia sana siku. Tama, I can see your day was good. Chumo, good. Charity Owiti, your day was great. Frida Washida, your day. Nancy Barongo, your day was great. Jason Akonga, you are very, very happy, regardless of the challenges that are existing. Dorochip Quiet, I cannot really get to know what you are saying. Maybe you unmute yourself and say what. Kemunto M, I can see flowers and happiness. Nice flowers. That means your day was good. Laura and Minor. Simon Frank, how are you? Great, great, great. Nyokabi, your day was good. Saul, your day was good. All right, this is the time we should start our conversation. We have no time. Why should we do human resource audits? This is your host, Richard J. Magoma. I am happy to host this particular conversation so that we can be able to understand why we should do our HR audits. What is the importance of doing HR audits? What are the tools that we should use in HR audits? What are the benefits of doing HR audits? Why should we do HR forensics? With us today is Dr. Rebecca Miner of Jomo Kenyatta University. She has been in the HR game for a long time. She's a HR consultant. She specializes in human resource talent. She has consulted so many organizations. She has given talks. She has given lectures. So she knows the ins and outs of human resource audits. And of course, behind the mic, he doesn't like being mentioned a lot, is my good friend and classmate, Hosea. He's managing our technical aspects. Thank you very much. Without much ado, Dr. Rebecca Miner, you're welcome to tell us why should we take care of this baby called human resource audits. You're on mute.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're very clear.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Richard. As I begin, I think I will want to share my screen and do something before. Let me see whether I'll be able to see the. I need to. Okay. I don't know whether. Am I? Let me just a minute.
You are very audible.
No, it's not. It's my screen that I'm wondering about whether I'm able to share. I'm trying to share something. Or should I share entire screen?
Yeah, the entire screen is okay.
Is it entire screen or, really?
Yes,
I think
just share the entire screen.
Let me share so that I see. I want something specific. Am I sharing?
Open the document where it is.
Okay.
If it's in PowerPoints or Word, and then when you get into this forum, share the window, share a window, then you click the window. Yeah.
Okay. I hope that is what, this is what I want to share. Yeah. Is it sharing? Can you be able to see my screen?
Yeah, it is. It has started.
Yes.
Yeah, we can see it.
Fantastic. So I want to share something that we resonate with, and then we can start our discussion. Okay. I hope it is audible. Yeah. No. What have I done? Is that okay? Why is it? Is the speakers? Can you be able to hear anything?
Nope.
No, we can.
And now?
You are muted. Yes.
And now?
Yes, we can
You
hear.
can hear?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me start again. Oh, why? Why is that? Okay. Why am I muting and unmuting? All right. I'm not sure I'm hearing anything.
No, it has.
Can you hear now?
No.
No.
Why?
Unmute your mic. Unmute your mic. What am I seeing?
Is my mic muted?
She has unmuted.
Have I muted or mute? Okay, I'm not sure what.
The volume is at 0. Maybe increase it to 100. On the video, the one that's playing.
Oh, okay. So I am presenting this one. Let me see. Where is that icon? Where do I put this off?
Okay. Or can I share?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Okay.
Yes. Let me stop sharing.
Okay. Confirm that it's coming on.
Yes, it is coming on. Yes.
Okay, so you'll bear with the size. That is the size of the video.
It's okay. You can put the volume.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope you can all hear. We can all hear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sure.
Sasa nifanye namna gani?
It is not moving. I don't know.
And the rest?
It's moving.
Yeah, it's moving.
It's moving.
Okay.
Nitafanya namna gani? Sivyo uite mkakudema pasue kurudi. We, nitafanya namna gani sasa? Enda wapi? Kuja kunisaidia kazi ndio wamekosea, siwaoni. Sasa ni Oliver, enda uwasubaishe wageni. Rudi wakisha moto tu, wacha Tony aende. Na nimekutuma uende uwasubaishe wageni, umerudi kufanya nini? Umesema niwashe moto. Ah, rudi, hebu rudi tu. Rudi tu, enda uwasubaishe wageni.
Mama, uwende kule samaki yote, tole pia tika kuna mafuta taa.
Siwewe nilikwambia wakishe moto.
Kibiriti imekuwa maji.
Sasa imeanguka namna gani? Sasa enda kwa duka.
Duka zimefungwa leo, si ni Sunday.
Hai, enda kwa kinutuma tena.
Kinutuma wanaomba leo, haki yeye.
Sasa tutafanya namna gani? Sasa nifanye nini sasa?
It's over.
Thank you. Thank you. You can stop screen sharing so that now I am able to.
You're okay presenting, or I go on?
No, I can't. I think, let me try presenting from my end.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, as I figure out how to present, I want some reactions about, I hope it was audible enough and you were able to see what happens. And I want you to share your experiences. Does this happen in a typical African or a Kenyan home? And bringing it home, do you find yourselves in such a situation in the organization at certain points or in time? Let me see your reactions.
Yeah, we start cleaning the house and so that it looks better than it was.
Yes. I want to hear your reactions.
Yes, Eric says yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes, that is Anne. We are not even sure where to start. It's really, I laughed aloud. That is Joy Alwatch.
Yes. Is it me? Aha. So, and in your in your organizations, and especially the HR department, do you find yourself in such a scenario, especially when you hear certain terms being used, like you're going to have an audit? What happens? Do you find yourself running up and down?
I can confess, yes. I can see Simon smiling.
Yes.
Yes.
Ah, fantastic. I'm looking for my presentation. Is it what I am sharing now? Is my presentation there?
No.
Oh, okay. So
just switch to the presentation.
I am currently having the presentation on my window. You can see it here.
What we can see is the Google Meet window. Normally, it's easier if you just share the whole screen so that it doesn't.
So when I go to present now, I present the entire screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then.
And then once you present, you can now move to whichever screen you want.
All right. So then share. Today I am learning because I don't know why it's giving me a problem, and I normally teach with this. I don't know why it is. So how do I get to the exact presentation? You can see it on my screen, right? Can you see it?
The presentation is there, PowerPoint,
Yes.
on the taskbar.
So how do I present it? That is what I'm asking.
You click on the taskbar. Yes, and then click on the present.
Am I now sharing my screen?
Yes.
Ah, fantastic, fantastic. Yeah. Now, what I want to I am wondering why I am not being able to see. do this. Hosea, kindly share for me. Kindly share for me, because now what is happening is that I'm not able to see, I'm not able to make my presentation and also get to the other window. So kindly share for me. Let me stop. Have I stopped screen sharing?
Not yet.
Okay, let me stop presenting so that you can share the screen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing a comment there that Eric was 1 week old in employment, and then that happened. And did I see what? Yeah, and this happened especially when government agencies visited and requested employment records. Wow. And Dama is saying that yes, especially impromptu audits. Charit says yes, but I tend to be a bit of a perfectionist, so he doesn't run up and down. Interesting comments. Now, thank you very much. I think now we can kickstart our conversation on that note, and we ask ourselves why we get into that mode of helter-skelter when this happens. And I will start by asking how many organizations are ISO certified. You can put that in your chat, in the chat function, so that I can see how many of your organizations are ISO certified. How many of your organizations are ISO certified? Let me see on the chat box. Yeah, John Miner is saying they are ISO certified. Which other organizations? Yes, I can see Nyokabi, Nancy, Joy, Doreen. Yeah. Aha. So from what I'm seeing, it's not all, because in this call we are around 57. I've only seen 5 reactions of organizations that are ISO certified. And I'll say why that is the case. Someone says, nope, they're not ISO certified. So when we, okay, Minayo, they are certified, and yeah, and somebody else is saying that they are ISO certified. Now, Hosea, we move to the outline of the presentation. I think I've already been introduced. Now, today or this evening, we are going to look at HR audit. First, we will do an introduction of what a HR audit is. Then we will look at the overall HR strategy and business strategy. Why should we conduct audit? What is the case for, or the rationale for conducting a HR audit? And the types that we have for audit, the focus areas, the steps to conduct when doing a HR audit, and we are also going to sample some audit best practices. I think that's a repetition there, but we are going to look at best practices in HR audits. Let's move on. Yes. Now, I'll begin by sharing a quote by saying that human resources isn't a thing we do. It is actually the thing that runs our business. And this is a quote by Steve Wine. And we have to admit that HR is the heartbeat of the business. HR department is the backbone of every organization, since they look at the most valuable asset in the business, and that is its people. So for a business to be thriving, it has to depend on people. And that is why the HR department is very important. Let's move on to the next. The next slide, please. Yes. So we are going to look at HR audits. And one thing about audits, the findings, when we go and start auditing, it is very easy to pinpoint, to look at several scenarios and look at what is coming up when you're doing the audit. But successful change from a finding is true internal audit value. You only get value from an audit if you can be able to have a successful change process. Because when we will be looking at at what HR audit is, why is it important to audit, then we will realize that it doesn't stop there. If we find items that are non-conforming, then we need to come up with interventions of how we can improve the organization so that we can spearhead the performance of the business. Next slide, please. Yes. And for us to be able to synthesize that, we need to appreciate where HR comes in the overall business strategy. We need to link the overall HR strategy and the business strategy. And the question we are asking here is, what is the mission and the vision statement of the organization? Is there even one in the first place? Because when you look at how strategy flows, the strategic mission, vision directs the strategic direction of the organization. So if this is not in place, I find very many organizations, when I'm training and I ask the employees, do you know your vision statement? Do you know your mission statement? And they will tell me no, they've never heard of it. These are documents that are in the custodian of God knows who. They have never seen them. And it is very important for any employee within the organization to be able to understand the mission and the vision statement, because that gives the overall direction of the organization. Then we go to the next question. If that vision is clear and the mission is clear, then are the HR goals aligned with the organizational goals? Because when we are doing strategic planning, there are those strategies that are pertinent to each and every department that are cascaded down from the overall strategic objectives. So when it comes to implementation matrix, and there are those that are cascaded down to the HR function, are these goals aligned to the overall organizational goals? So that is very critical to be able to ask this question. Then you need to know what is the total number of employees in the organization. It is surprising that you go to an organization and what they can give you is an estimate of what they think the staff are or what the employees are. We need to know the ratio of the managers or the supervisors. How many do we have at the top management? How many do we have in the middle level management? How many are part-time staff, for example? How many are full-time staff? Do we have casuals? Do we have interns? Do we have? So we need to know the composition of the staff within the organization, and this is very critical when we are trying to understand the HR strategy. Again, the HR department is mandated with the communication function, because HR is the link between the employees and the management. So how is that communication conducted? Are the employees aware of the strategies that management is trying to implement? What are you as a function doing? And you find very many HR are stuck in the middle, because you don't want to identify so much with the employees. You don't want, again, to identify so much with the management. You're there in a crazy space where you have to balance it out. And that is what practicing HR means. So you need to have very clear communication lines. You have to have strategies on communicating the strategies that the management is cascading down to the employees. So that is a very critical and important function in HR. Next slide, please. Now, what is the mission of the HR department? We have really appreciated that HR department is actually very critical, very vital in the organization, because it provides, it develops, it provides effective human resource management, because you are the authors. And if you're not the authors, you help implement the policies that an organization has, the programs, services, and all these are geared to attaining the corporate and employee goals. So there is that balance. You are trying to balance the needs of employees and also the needs of the organization. So it is very critical to understand how that marries in. For example, if employees do not understand the needs of the organization, that is why you are not able to look at some activity like absenteeism. You are not able to tell how it affects the bottom line because there is lack of that alignment. People are not aware, employees are not aware how their actions are affecting the business. So it is the HR department that is given this mandate of balancing those needs so that they can be able to create awareness to employees that the more absent you are, this is what it is doing to the bottom line. So that is very critical. Are you stopping to next? Aha. Okay. Yes, the next slide, please. Okay, so we dive into now the meat of the conversation, and we want to define what HR audit is. And according to AIHR, you find it defines analytics in HR defines HR audit as the review of human resource policies, procedures, and processes with the aim to identify areas that need improvement and the areas that are not performing well. So this is an exercise that examines intensely. The topic of today was forensics. What is forensics? You're looking with a magnifying glass. You're trying to see what is it that is going on beneath the iceberg. What you're seeing above the iceberg is visible, but the content beneath it is what you're trying to unearth. So you need to examine intensely and objectively these functions, these organizations' policies, the HR policies. We are looking at documentation, we are looking at systems, we are looking at practices, so that we are able to protect the organization from litigation, also with the awareness of aligning it to best practices or best standards within the market, and also identify opportunities for improvement or continuous improvement. So the objective of an audit is to be able to understand the current state of the organization, and in particular the HR department, so that you can be able to evaluate whether specific practices are adequate and if they are legally compliant and also effective. So that is the whole reason why an audit is necessary. Next. And why do we need to do this? Why do we need to conduct a HR audit? Why is it necessary? And I will ask, how many, at this point, how many organizations have conducted a HR audit in the last 2 years? Let me see that in the chat box. In the last 2 years, has the organization done a HR audit? In the last 2 years? Let me see your feedback. Yes, Annette says they have done. Oh, yeah. Is it Annette? Yeah. Annette has raised her hand. Yes, Nyokabi. Yeah, Oiti says they did one last year. Yes, last year. I think those are two. Am I seeing others? Are there others they have done in the last 2 years? That is very impressive. Miriam Koi, they have done one. Dama G last month. That's recent. That's good. Yes. From that feedback, that is very, very fresh and very good that organizations are proactive in conducting a HR audit, so that they are able to troubleshoot and have a health check of the organization. So one of the reasons why it is important for us to conduct a HR audit is to explore effective use of HR. You realize that now we are looking at the value, the output of an individual employee in what we call analytics, HR analytics and metrics. So we need to equate, we need to understand what is the value of one employee. Per employee, how are you contributing to the business bottom line? So that is very critical. And Case in point, I think it is the end of last year when new governors took oath for office, and there are some counties that actually decided to look at utilization of their HR, and they conducted some HR audits. Like there was Garissa County, I think Kisii County, Machakos County, and to our shock and surprise, we saw a lot of issues to deal with manpower, to deal with one vehicle driven by 3 people, quote unquote, because they are on the payroll, they are drivers. But when the vehicles were lined up, you could not tell who is driving where. And we saw some counties where one ID was being used by very many people. We saw a lot of crazy stuff. And I remember the question in almost all HR circles I belong to, the question was, where or who is the HR in these places? Who is the HR in these institutions? Because, and I saw some conversation, we need to know them, we need to shame them, we need to remove them from our register because they are not compliant. So it is important for us to conduct a HR audit so that we know how effectively we are utilizing our human resource. The second rationale is to ensure compliance. You have seen very many organizations being taken to court and suffering a lot of litigation costs because of lack of compliance. Legal compliance, and we're going to look at that. Why didn't they comply with the law? Is it ignorance? Is it arrogance? So that whole question of compliance, when you're doing a HR audit, you're able to see where which processes are not complying or are not in line with the legal framework that has been put in place. So that is very critical. Another reason why we conduct a HR audit is risk management. We identify the gaps that exist, and when you're doing the risk management in the business, you're able now to know this is a potential risk, a potential hazard. So you're able to put mitigation measures to avoid so many pitfalls that you might find yourself in. The other one is alignment of human resource management with the overall business, as I mentioned earlier. That is very critical so that HR is aware of the strategic direction of the business and is able to align the manpower to hire the best people, to have the right competence, the right skill mix, so that they can actualize the strategic direction of the business. So that is very critical and a reason for conducting a HR audit. The other one is to identify ways to streamline work processes. Sometimes you realize that you cannot even understand why one function or one activity or one process has been broken down to be done by 5, 6, 7 people. I was last month I concluded a job evaluation exercise I was doing, and it was amazing because when I was looking at 3 different job descriptions, and I was wondering, these 3 are in one department. I cannot figure out why we have 3 positions for this particular function, yet it is a duplication of what is being done. And when you're doing a job analysis, you come up with, you unearth these kind of things. So it is important. It helps when you do the HR audit, it helps to identify ways to streamline work processes, to make sure that you are minimizing wastage within the processes. So that is very critical. The other rationale for a HR audit is to offer measuring of continuous improvement, and that is what we refer to as Kaizen, continuous improvement. Unfortunately, most organizations and many employees in organizations, when an audit is being done, it feels like it is a witch hunt. It feels like it is we are looking for fault. It's a fault-finding mission. So instead of looking at it positively, that it is a tool that can be used to ensure continuous improvement, it becomes now a tool of witch hunt or a tool of we are being targeted. So that is very unfortunate. But when conducted professionally, it helps to measure, to have continuous improvement. Another reason why we should do a HR audit is to instill a sense of confidence in the HR department. When this is done professionally, many organizations, employees come and interact with HR at the beginning of recruitment process, and the next time they interact with HR is during PM or during evaluation when they are not performing, and that is when they're interacting with HR. This is a continuous process. So it helps give visibility to the HR department, because it helps now, remember, the people, the human resource are the people at the heart of innovation, creativity within the organization, productivity within the organization. So when the HR comes and spearheads and shows better ways of working, shows efficiency, is able to streamline processes, then people have confidence that things are working. When you have clear procedures, clear policies, you do not have double standards when we come to promotions or any other activity within the HR function, then it instills a sense of confidence. Again, it maintains or enhances the organization's reputation, the brand image, because anyone who sees this organization and is able to get feedback about what is happening in that particular organization, you get brand recognition. We are able to see this as a serious HR function. We are able to tell that this organization is intentional in doing things right. Next. So we talked about HR compliance. And what is this compliance that we are talking about? And this is the legal framework in which an organization must operate within. And for us to be able to comply with those regulations, we need to look at several aspects. One, we have the statutory compliance. What are the statutory compliance? These are laws that are passed by the state or the central government. So we talk about statutory deductions. Like, I don't want to be talking alone. I know you are experts in your field. So I want the chat box to be busy so that when I mention something, you're saying you're either agreeing or disagreeing with me. So
we are energized. We are learning a lot.
Yeah, I don't want to be talking alone.
No. We are keen.
Yes, NSSF, thank you, Frida. Yes, we have NHIF, we have HELB, we have tax, KRA, we have NSSF. So all these are statutory requirements. And when we are doing pay as you earn, and so when we are doing a HR audit, then these are things that NITA, we need to be making sure that we are complying with. We even have WCF, we have NITA, and all those. SDL, depending on the industry that you're in. Yeah, you see how, clap for yourselves, you're doing very well. So we have those statutory compliance requirements. We have the regulatory, and these regulatory requirements of or compliance, these are rules and legislation that has been put in place by regulatory bodies. This one I have to be very intentional. You might not know what I'm talking about. So let me not repeat, but this compliance ensures that the bodies that provide regulation, like, I want you to put them there, like these regulatory bodies, like you are doing, yes, IHRM, thank you, RBA, TBS, thank you, yes. And there are more, which provide regulatory compliance that we have. IPRA, we have to, ERPA, yes. So we need to comply with that. Yes, NEMA is a regulatory body, KPDC, we have IPRA, IHRM, NITA, we have ISO, yes, we have CBK guidelines. So these are regulatory bodies and we need to comply with them. So when you're doing a HR audit, this is part of the compliance issues that you'll need to look at. We have contractual compliance. And this is where you have a contract in place, and it requires both parties of the contract to be able to look at the benefits. You're looking at severance packages, the period of terminating the contract. So those are contractual obligations that you need to comply to. And you need to look, when you're doing the HR compliance, you need to understand whether you are within that framework of that contract. We have union laws. We have HR technology, the IHRS. We have very many technology that are revolving around HR. You need to comply with. You need internal processes. The organization has put forth policies, procedures that you need to comply with. Internally, are you complying with them? And these are organization specific. So you need to be complying with them. Training, we talked about NITA. We need to know whether we are submitting returns. Are we being able to give reports of who has been trained? TNA, are we doing TNA? We are going to look at these things when we look at the checklist. Next. So that is about being in line with the regulation or the regulatory obligations of the organization. We have three types of audit. And the first one is the first party audit. And when we are doing a first party audit, this is performed within the organization. So this basically gears towards looking at the strengths and weaknesses of against its own procedures and internal standards. So this is internal. It is an internal audit. It's being done by first party, and it is being conducted by employees who are employed within the organization. But these employees do not have any vested interest in the audit results or the areas being audited. So we all know that we have an audit function, and it is not limited to auditing one department. So they can audit any department within the organization. So this is what they do. The first party, it is an internal process, but these individuals should not be partisan to the department. So they do the audit without having any interest in that particular department. So they will be looking at policies, procedures, checks and balances. So they will be able to provide that third eye. Then we have the second party kind of audit. And this one is usually performed by a supplier or a customer contracted organization on behalf of a customer. And this one, it is subject to just a minute. Yeah, so this second party audit is performed by a supplier or a customer contracted organization on behalf of a customer. So it is subject to the rules of contract law, and they will give a contractual decision from the customer to the supplier. So this one, for example, when you have franchises, you have somebody to go and audit whether they are still doing the right thing and they are still within the framework of what is expected of them. So this one is, it is more formal than the first party kind of audit because it can result even in influencing customers' purchasing decision. So this is a second party kind of audit. And the third or type of audit is the third party audit, and this is performed. There's someone who has a question. Is it John Minor? You have raised your hand. If you have muted yourself, if I'm too fast, also
sorry, it was my mistake. Sorry.
Oh, okay, thank you. And if I'm too fast, please let me know. So the third party kind of audit is performed by an audit organization independent of the customer-supplier relationship, and it is free from any kind of conflict of interest. And this one is where it can result in certification. We talk of registration. It can give, the outcome can be recognition. You can be given an award. You can be given a license. You can be given approval. Some organizations give citation. It can also give a fine after the audit, and it can give penalties and what have you. So it is offered for a period of time, and this one is geared towards ensuring that there is quality and also confidence in a brand. And what comes to mind, an example of this is like ISO certification. So it is not given indefinitely. After a certain period of time, then you need to be recertified, because there is a set standard that you need to comply with. There's a certain threshold an organization needs to adhere to. So that is very critical in determining whether you will get recertified or whether you will get a penalty, or even it can be withdrawn. ISO certification can be withdrawn. And all these organizations that are ISO certified, they have a kind of recognition within the field, because it is definite that you comply to the highest standards, so that are set in that particular industry. So that is very critical. Some organizations are EMS certified, some are ISO certified. There is a blend of both. So that is the third party kind of audit that is done by the one to give certification. Next. Yeah, we have now the focus areas for a HR audit. I've talked about the types of audit, but we have the focus areas which are specific to HR. Number one, we have the compliance audit. And this compliance audit, it can be, what are we looking at here? Are you complying? Are you within the regulatory framework? Are you operating within the legal framework? So that is what a compliance audit does. So when you'll be looking at the processes in HR, for every function, you'll be asking yourself, is it complying with the laws, the guidelines, the legal framework that has been put in place? For example, if it is recruitment, are you in line with the Employment Act? If it is something like occupational health and safety, are you within OSH? If it is about all the labor laws, are you in compliance with them? When we talk about these statutory deductions, it's all about compliance within the functional areas of HR. So for every function, are you within the legislative framework? The second one is the best practice audit. And this best practice is what has been set as the threshold within similar organization in the industry. In the industry. So there is that threshold in any industry, similar organizations. This is the benchmark. So are you falling short of that benchmark? Are you above? Are you comparing well? And this is when we conduct a job evaluation, we want to see, are we within the market range in terms of salary payments, salary scale? So this best practice audit, then we are trying to compare ourselves within similar organization within the industry. Then the third area could be function specific audit. And when we are conducting this kind of audit, we are looking at specific function. Remember, we have the various functions within the HR department. We have recruitment and selection. We have training and development. We have compensation and benefits. We have training and development, performance management. So the whole spectrum until an employee exits the organization for one reason or another, then it is a whole scope. So sometimes you can conduct a function-specific audit and say, we are going to look at recruitment and selection. function. So yeah, somebody is saying we can do human resource planning. You can decide to look at that function in entirety. So what are the things that you will be looking at? You will be looking at is there compliance within that particular function? If it is recruitment and selection, you will be looking at what are the sources of recruitment? How do you do your advertising? So you are tied to that particular function. If you're conducting the audit, you're not looking at all the functions within the HR department. So that could be the focus area. So there are those three. It could be a compliance audit, it could be a best practice audit, or a function specific audit. Next. Yes, so how do we now conduct the HR audits? We need to, one, determine the focus of the HR audit, because if we do not know, depending on the size of the organization and the functions and the type of industry you are operating in, you can have so many processes, so many functions. So it is important to determine, are you looking at compliance issues only? Because if it is compliance only, you'll determine the functions and the compliance related issues and whether you're complying with them, with the laid down legal framework or not. If you are looking at best practice audit, and that is your focus in HR, so yours is to look at those functions, the processes, the procedures, the policies that you have vis-a-vis what is happening in industry. If you determine the focus of audit is function specific, you will identify one key area that is giving you headache, or you want to improve the processes, and then you did, like when we talk even about HRP planning, you can look at entirely a skills audit. So you will be looking at gap analysis, you'll be looking at competencies, skill set, the people on the ground, the variance, the deviation. So that is what you will put your focus on. Secondly, you need to get management buy-in. And this is very, very critical. I do ISO audits, and I have gone to departments when you're going to audit, and people look at you wondering when you surface there, like, why are you here? What have you come to do? And they are all looking at you very suspiciously because there is no communication. People do not know why you're there. It's only a few managers who are aware of your presence there. So it is important to get management buy-in. Number two, remember, after you have conducted, you've gathered your data, these are the same people you're going to give the reports for implementation. So it is important that you get the buy-in, the initial stage, so that you work together through the process. The third thing is to determine who conducts the HR audits. Are you doing it externally? Are you doing it internally? Who is going to do the audits? Are you getting a consultant to come in and do the audit? So you need to determine who will do the audit. And then now the work begins. After you have made the determination whether it will be done internally or externally, then you start gathering data for the HR audit. And this is within the HR department. So you are going to look at what you have identified. If it is by function, you will start getting data from that particular function. If it is about compliance of a specific function, the same case, you start getting information, collecting data. And for those organizations where they are highly automated, it makes work processes very easy, because at a dashboard, you're able to identify most of the things by analytics. So it depends on the organization and how automated you are. Then there is review of the findings, because after you have gathered data, you need now to make sense out of the data. You need to present, you need to communicate your findings. It is a good thing to know about grievances within the organization. There are those emotive places you want it to be written by the consultant. Hapo pa payroll, please make sure you have written, yeah, this is not happening. For promotions, make sure you capture this. But now So how do you synthesize this data to make sense out of it? So that is where communication and reporting comes in. How do you package that information? Is it an emotive one? You're just coming and suggesting and giving things that are not there. So this is very critical in reporting. And you realize that depending on the size of the organization and the functions within the HR function, this process can take even 3 months, can take 6 months. It is dependent on very many factors. How many staff do you have, for example? Because you realize if you're having 1,000 employees in an organization, you might not be able to get information from their 1,000 employees. You might need to sample probably 100, and it will consume more time than when you're just doing 30 or 30 employees, or when you're doing a small organization of 15 people. So these are dependent on very many factors, and the audit can take from 2 months to 3 months to 6 months, depending on these other factors that we are talking about. Then there is the audit, follow-up, and closure. Because once we have identified the strengths, the weaknesses, the gaps, then we need to come back and ask ourselves, we recommended these 1, 2, 3 interventions. Have they been implemented? And if yes, to what extent? And is this becoming a part of change process within the organization? Is effectiveness being seen? Are we in the right trajectory? So that is very important in follow-up and closure. Next. Yes. So from these audit findings, we can have corrective action. We can have actions to eliminate the causes of existing nonconformities, because sometimes you realize that this is a proactive kind of an intervention. You realize that there are those things, if they're not done, then this is bound to happen. So it is more proactive. You are anticipating a hazard, you're anticipating a risk, and therefore you're putting interventions to make sure that you eliminate the causes of that, why that nonconformity is there. Then you can have preventive action. This is where you have already seen the causes of potential nonconformity. For example, you're doing recruitment and selection, and you realize that you're having too many issues around this space. And then you realize that why you're having very many fake certificates is because you are not looking, you have not done background checks, you are not authenticating documents. So you could have a preventive action to say that for new hire, or you are going to overhaul the induction, the recruitment process, the selection process, so that you weed out these fake certificates, or you weed out people coming with 4 different marriage certificates in their files, or you will weed out dependents who have exceeded the threshold of being dependents. So you'll be able to troubleshoot all these things, and it becomes a preventive action, so that if you want to avoid lawsuits and embarrassment, it is very embarrassing when an audit report is given and you are the HR manager and it is being said that 10 employees have fake certificates. 20 employees came through back door. They do not have the qualifications that are needed for the job they are doing. So that preventive action helps to eliminate causes of potential non-conformity. Next. So how do we execute the audit? One, we start with having an initial meeting, and this is very important because we are able to know who is conducting the audit, who will be involved in doing what, who is mandated to give certain things. Remember, HR is a very sensitive docket. So not everyone is privy to everything. There are those who are in record management documentation. So it is important to know who is doing what. And this initial meeting is the management, the HR staff, the employees, all those that will be needed during the audit process. And it helps to inform employees what is at stake and also to help garner support. The earlier the experience I was sharing with you when I was doing that job evaluation, I remember when I was now doing the job analysis and I was with my team there. And you realize employees don't want to give information. They are just holding cards in their chest because they know the outcome of this job evaluation exercise might mean I am underworked. I am not supposed to be in the grade I'm in. So they are, like, I could see a lot of bloating of responsibilities and tasks. You look at this job description, you look at the grade this person is in, what they're supposed to do, and the job responsibilities, duties and responsibilities are more than even the MD. So you're asking yourself exactly why is this staff having too many things to do? Because they want to be relevant. They want to show, yes, my job is very important. So if you are conducting a HR audit, it is important to be able to garner the support so that people voluntarily give information. Remember, your staff are custodians of very sensitive information, including payrolls, including staff files. So you need to work in such a way that they are able to voluntarily give information. When we are doing audits, we see all sorts of things. You see, when you ask for files, they already know which ones are up to date. So they will insist, no, you have this one, this one, this one. But you have randomly selected. And that one you're asking for, you are told, let me go and get it. You will not get it for the next 5 days. So they will bring a different one. Why? Because they know the documentation is in order. This is not missing. Everything is intact in that file. This other one has pending issues, disciplinary issues, is on PIP, no documentation. So that is very critical when you are doing the audit. Then the other important thing is this helps in enhancing professionalism so that we are complying to the set standards that are required of us when conducting the audit. When you're doing this initial meeting, you're also, if you're using an external party, at this point, they are able to tell these are the people. The consultant will come with his team or her team and will say, these are the people I'll be working with for the period of this assignment, so that you do not have aliens coming and in the HR accessing very sensitive information and you do not know who they are. So this initial meeting is very important. Next. Now, we are actually doing the audits. Now we start our checklists. What are we looking for? What are we auditing? What is this that we need to be looking out for? So these are the areas of audits. And I think I will ask whether we can we can share a template that most of you have been asking for, so that you are able to customize and to see what you can add and just a guideline of what you need to audit. Now, we have hiring or recruitment or onboarding. So what are the things we will be looking at? What documentation is needed at this stage? What is being audited? So it is important to note that because of the time that we are having, I might not give all the areas within that specific function. I'm just giving an outline of what you will be looking for as an auditor when you're looking at a specific function. So this is not exhaustive. This is just a guideline for us to appreciate how the process or what the process looks for. So one, when you are looking at recruitment, we're looking at which procedures are used for hiring in the organization. So the auditor will ask questions of what is the procedure? For those organizations that are ISO certified, ISO certification requires proper documentation. And this helps so much because there is a procedure for everything. It is documented. It is already in place. So an auditor will be requesting for that procedure and looking at it So if it is hiring, what recruitment sources are being used? Is it advertisements? Are you using referrals? Are you using social media? How are you conducting it? So those are the questions and the checklist you'll be having so that you're able to tell this is how recruitment is done. You will look at and is there what processes are there for identification of new hires, for example, or new recruits? What information will you be asking for those that are onboarding? Medical records. Is the medical records different from the personal file? Are they merged? Are they different? So those are the questions that you will be looking at. Are there any job openings? And if there are, how long does it take? Yes, Doreen, thank you. Induction. Yes. How long does it take for you to identify that that position, that it is vacant? How long does it take to fill in? How long does it take to make the advertisement? How long, what is the TAT around recruitment and selection? So that is very critical. And then you will be asking questions like, are current employees being given appropriate consideration for promotion, for example? Is there opportunity for lateral position changes, for example, moving from one line to the next? So, and if yes, what is the documentation to support that this is done in a clear, transparent manner? So that is what you will be looking out for. You will be looking at what are the preliminary screening of candidates. How do you do it? What is the procedure of doing it? In many organizations, this is shrouded in a lot of mystery, so that when candidate A comes, the goalposts are here and here. When candidate B comes, the goalposts are here. When another candidate comes, the goalposts are here. You can hardly enter. So to ensure standardization and transparency, fairness, there needs to be procedures and guidelines that show us that this is what is used to determine such. Another question would be, who selects candidates for interviews? Who does the interviews? What is the interviewing panel? How do they document the screening, the interview process? Do you have applicants' background checks? And if the background checks are done, do you have reference checks? How and especially this is a very big challenge for HR nowadays when you're practicing human resource nowadays, because there are too many fake degrees. There are too many fake things happening out there. The documentation you have and the employee who shows up are totally different. So you need to really counter check and make sure that you have the real person, so to speak. So you will look at data protection, for example. How is the data protected for employee? Or how is employee data protected, for example? So that is a very key concern in recruitment and onboarding. And then who makes the final authority to hire? Is there a standard offer letter, for example? If is there a standard appointment letter? What are the turnover rates around this process? Are they monitored? Do you have exit interviews? So all this you'll be asking to find out whether this whether there is feedback. You'll also ask whether there is an employee handbook. That is part of the documentation. You will want to see that employee handbook. Look at it and make sure that it has all the policies and it has everything that an employee requires. So how is the onboarding process done? How is the induction process done? The acceptance rates. Thank you, Flora. All this under recruitment and onboarding. So the list is long. When we come to employee relations, that is where we have the disciplinary procedure, the grievance procedure. And what is there in terms of discipline? What is the committee? How is the discipline done? who is in charge of what, and what are the avenues an employee has to be disciplined. If it is non-performance, when it comes to performance management, you're asking questions like, is there an appraisal tool? And in recruitment and onboarding, I forgot a very important one. You'll also be asking things like the job descriptions, whether they are up to date and whether they exist or not. Disciplinary procedure, there are very many things that you will be looking out for, including who does the discipline, the timelines for discipline, is it in compliance also with the Employment Act and the guidelines that have been given. So that is very critical. You will be having your checkbox and you will be seeing whether it is in line, in accordance to the documentation that you're given. Grievance procedure, how can you address a grievance? How is there a whistleblowing policy, for example? You will ask questions like complaint handling mechanisms. Where do you lodge your complaints as an employee? Are there, how is that done? And are supervisors and managers trained in these kinds of policies? When we talk about sexual harassment, when we talk about all these policies, how are we complying with them and adopting best practices? Then we have performance management. And is there one you will be asking, is there a system for performance evaluation? Is there an appraisal tool? Do we have PIP? How long is the PIP? How do you implement it? Are people aware? So these questions, there are so many. And performance management, this is not exhaustive. It's a whole list. So you will be asking to be provided with samples of the appraisal tool, for example. You will be asking to be provided by feedback of performance management. What is the reward structure from the performance management? What other interventions are there revolving around PM? So that is your checklist for performance management. I said this is not exhaustive, so there are so many around there. When you talk about security, data protection, HR is the custodian of very sensitive information in an organization. Is the retrieval process flawless? The files, are they lying all over the place? Are they secure? We have had cases of people being dragged to court because they cannot trace files. Files disappear and disappear and disappear completely. You cannot trace them. So how secure are they? So this is, and what processes are adhered to? Who is the custodian of what? Including software. For those who do payrolls, the security checks of getting and assessing the system. So who is authorized? Who are the unauthorized persons? To what level? Which firewalls do you have? What are the data security elements that are in place? So all this around security. We have training and development. Are there training needs analysis done? How is the training done? Is it in-house? Is it a consultant who comes on board? The whole element of training. Are you NITA compliant? Are you able to give data on who has been trained, who has not, and what length of time, and what determines who is to be trained? So that is very critical. We have compensation and benefits. So when we come to matters payroll, are employees having updated pay slips? Are they able to get their deductions done? Are they remitted? So these are questions that you'll be ticking when you're doing your audit. Employee relations, I've mentioned. Safety, health, and well-being. One of the audit areas we do when we come to your organization, we will come to your toilets. It's amazing what you find there. People think it's not a very important thing, but when you come to visit those washrooms, you find all sorts, some with faulty doors, no tissue, no water, and it tells a lot about an organization. The environment the employees are working in, the ergonomics, you find people in very dimly lit environments. You'll be checking, you'll be ticking boxes. The kind of seats they are having backaches and everything, so you will need to document such. including the environment. Record keeping and documentation. HR is all about documentation. When we come to litigation, you will understand why it is important to document each and every tiny little bit of HR. Remember, the personal file is what represents the employee in their absence. So it should be properly documented. And an auditor will ask for random files, will sample different files. And some of the things that they will be checking in these files is, one, are the mandatory information that needs to be in that file in the file. If it is issues of like the appointment letter, is it up to date? The next of kin, is it up to date? References, CV, do we have the most updated photo in that file? Do we have the last promotion, the performance, how this person is performing? So everything about that employee is packaged in that file. So record keeping is very instrumental in HR. Luckily, we have automated most of our processes, and it helps it in documentation. And for those who are in certificate, they have been doing certification with like ISO and other certifying bodies, at least this is very well streamlined, which is very important. So these are areas that are critical when you're conducting the HR audit. So you will be requesting for the policies that are in place in every function, in every activity. You will be looking at the procedures, the guidelines that are in place, and depending on the type of organization, you will find that like an industry where health and safety is very critical, you will find very many compliance issues that you need to be ticking boxes. So depending on the nature of the organization, that is where the audit will dwell on mostly. Next slide, please. I think I've talked too much. Okay, before we go now to the benefits, after you have conducted the audits, then you need to verify that the corrections are made, because you will be able to understand the gaps that are existing. If it is in recruitment, you will identify the gaps. If it is in any function, you will be able to identify the gaps that are existing, and you will be able now to have corrective actions. And the audits make sure that you are evaluating whether there is compliance with what has been recommended. So the next slide is I want to open up the floor and ask, what do you think are the benefits of conducting a HR audit? I think next. Yes. So from what I have discussed so far, I think I have really talked. I need to hear you guys. I need to hear the benefits that you can accrue from HR audit. Remember, we talked about it not being a witch hunt function. So apart from what I have mentioned, what are the other likely benefits that we can acquire from conducting this exercise? As I take my water.
Hey, Doctor, you are so energetic. For those people who do not know, Daktari also makes cake. You can put your number for those people who want birthday cakes. You know, it's like you're getting the energy. You're eating a lot of cake. You can put your number for those people who will want cake from you as well.
Now you, Richard. Richard, today we are on HR audits. Today we are on audits. Yes.
I want people to buy your cake as well so that they can audit it.
Nice. Kindly moderate for me that, Richard, as I take the water.
Yes. Efficiency and the effectiveness will increase. Efficiency, Jason Akonga. The benefits would never go through, and it helps to make sure all is well. Promotion best practices improves efficiency. Arthur says proper planning and saving of costs improve workplace safety. That is Annette Otonda. Oluoch says it helps in self-evaluation. Know thyself. Attrition rate will go down. Yes, if you are doing HR audits, you make sure that attrition rates go down. Promote organizational culture. We have been, maybe our next topic should be about organizational toxic levels. Improves organization improvement. We have improvement in the organization. Then we have improves organizational image. That you had already said that it improves the brand of the organization. Reduces legal exposure. That is Jason Akonga. Then we have Elizabeth Mbogwa saying validates the function. Yes, there is a point you had mentioned that there is functional audit. So it validates the functions of HR if they are well aligned. We have strategic alignment. It means that there is a connection between human resource and the strategy of the business strategy. That is alignment. That is Flora Kaleri. Then who else wants to say something? Avoids litigation. That is Akonya Vivian. Minimize HR of expense. That is cost management by Esther Madenge. We reduce expenses. When we do HR audits, we are able to find the gaps. We are able to find what needs to be fixed, and then it reduces the expenses.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, for benchmarking. Thank you, capacity development. And the question I'm asking is, for those organizations who have not conducted HR audits, what stops them from doing an audit? Why is it that people fear doing audits? And especially for public service, these audits are met with a lot of apathy, met with a lot of fear. Why is it that when we look at all these benefits of HR audit, why is it that we don't want to do them? Probably those people who say they have never done the audits. What is stopping you guys from doing a HR audit?
We can put our answers to the chat box. What stops us from doing HR audits? Quickly, we can have like 10.
It's not a priority.
The problem is system within the organization. Example of personal business. That is by Frank Simon. Loss of jobs, resources become a hindrance. That is by Flora. Nothing. Patrick. Cost, Annette Otonda, nothing. So much going on. Fear of being held accountable. That is Eric Modomi.
Yes.
Keep them coming. Keep them. Fear of being seen as what? Incompetent. That is by victimization. Fear by Janet Kogo. Macau Esther. Lack of support from top management. That is where buy-in comes in.
Yes.
Ahmed Mohammed. Poor management culture. Top organizations. Patrick says audits are seen to be merely financial. Poor management culture from the top. That is Ahmed.
There's someone who has said about startups. There is a startup or something.
Startups are learning as they go.
Yeah.
So they keep on. They learn on the go.
Yeah.
That is probably the reason why they're not able to do audits.
All right. Yeah. Let me go to the next slide so that we will have. There are threats. Now we talked about best practices. And I have to state that best practices are moving targets. They are not static. What is a best practice today is not a best practice tomorrow. And I think COVID taught us this lesson pretty well, that what we held with very high esteem, for example, clocking in, clocking out, attendance management, we realize now we are working from home. We have flexi schedules and we have all sorts of things coming up. So in this VUCA and BANI environment we are operating in, so much is happening within a very short period of time. And there is a lot of changes within industry. There's a time everybody was talking about blue ocean strategies. We started talking about Lean Sigma. We started talking about restructuring and all those nice things. Which are the other ones? The ones that were like coming up. I know you know them. Keep them coming. I don't want to be. This is not a lecture, so I want you guys to contribute. I want to see how resourceful and how curious you are.
The latest is HR agility.
Agility. Thank you. We are having the Great Resignation. We are having which others? Hey, where are these people? No one is saying anything.
Quiet resignation.
I want to hear the trends. Where are these people? You see, we need to keep sharpening our saws and know what is best in the market and what is trending in organizations and in our industry. This is our industry. There's a time HR analytics and metrics was just a key thing, and everyone was talking about of metrics. I don't know. There's so much. Quiet quitting, what I was calling the great resignation. Yes, HR
value
value proposition, employee value propositions. Yes, keep them coming, keep them coming. Let me see how yes, Gen Z. Now we are even in alpha generation, so we need to keep abreast with what is happening. The gig, is it gig or gig economy? Yes, keep them coming. Let's see. 4-day work week. Yes, we are no longer at 5-day work week. Yes, after COVID really changed how we look at work. HR business partners, HRBP. Hey, Frank, can you write something? You are looking at me and you're not saying anything. Yes, utilization of social media. This is very critical. Now we have gone online. We are recruiting online on social media. We are tweeting. We are linked in. We are doing all those things. Yeah. Which are the other ones? Remote working, flexi working, AI. Thank you. People have woken up. Oh, they're waking up when I'm finishing. Employer branding. Yes. How you as a HR professional, as a brand, we are talking about getting your seat in management, in the boards. So there are all these things that are happening in our space. Employee wellness. Thank you. Yeah. So all these are shifting and moving targets. So what is that best practice today? Tomorrow it's no longer that best practice. So yeah. Somebody is here, VUCA, volatility, uncertainty. Yes, I also talked of bunny, brittle, ambiguous. Continue. You can write for them, BANI. Yeah, we are moving from VUCA. Now we are going to bunny. Yes, co-working spaces. Yeah, all this. So these are moving targets. Tomorrow we might be talking about something very different that is happening. So management thinking also keeps evolving. How you deal with employees today, the decisions you make around your business processes, they will keep shifting, they will keep changing with the changing business environment. So that is very critical. And again, yeah, diversity, equity, and inclusion, very important. It is a reality with us. We need to comply with it. So management thinking is also evolving, it's also shifting. Our belief system is changing considerably. So these best practices keep changing. Then there are also diverse ways of dealing with management situations. Because of the changes, we need also to, like when we are dealing with Gen Z, how do we motivate them? How do we make sure they're productive, increase productivity? How do we make sure that we keep their attention, we retain them in organizations? So this is very important. As HR, we need to be very curious. We need to know what is happening in our industry. If you are in healthcare, what is happening in healthcare? What is happening in education sector? What is happening in hospitality industry, in security industry? So you need to be very curious as a HR to be able to know what is happening, benchmark with those organizations within similar industry. You can read widely. Most of us, and this is being also having another sort of an academic, this is, you need to read. And not only reading for your CHRPs or your masters or whatever you're doing, but it is important to stay abreast with trends that are taking place globally, because now we are managing remote workforce. We are having expatriates who are working for us. We need to be knowing what they need and what is needed to be able to work and ensure that there is productivity. Get advice from consultants. And I'm not referring to business, they're called suitcase consultants. Yes, not those ones, briefcase, not those ones, credible consultants, so that you are able to get value. You're going to get quality, quality audits, quality information. That is very critical. Next. Are we? Yes, yes, yes. Can we move? Yes. Now, as I conclude, I will want to say that HR audits, of course, this was an overview of why HR audits are important, how do we conduct them, what are we looking out for, and why is it beneficial, or how is it beneficial to the organization. So we cannot conclude the conversation here. There is so much. It is so wide. How does it enhance employee engagement, for example? By doing those skill gaps analysis, you're able to enhance employee engagement. They know there is promotion avenues. They know there is an employee value proposition. So you are able to understand all these gaps that we have. How we manage talent within organization, talent management. This particular exercise will help us manage talent and also increase organization effectiveness. So HR department being the driver of innovation, we are the drivers of productivity, of profitability and business success and sustainability. So we need to spearhead this activity to reap maximum benefits for the business. So thank you very much. Before I proceed to the questions on the chat, I think there were some questions that had been asked and I would want to address them. One of them being, how long is an audit conducted, a HR audit conducted? And I think I mentioned that depending on the scope that is to be audited, the nature of the organization, how big, how many functions, what kind of audit is to be done, what are the focus areas. So it can be from anything to do to 2 months to 6 months. And for those who have conducted audits in the last 2-3 years, you can, this one who mentioned even last month, you can tell us how long it took place. So that one, there are very many factors. An audit, a HR audit can be done 2 to 3 years. It is labor intensive. It is also costly. So not very costly, but in terms of criticizing and conducting that forensics in that department, you need resources. So that can also be a factor. There's somebody who had asked, about costing. How do you cost a HR audit? And I will say that there is no one menu. Is it not a menu? Invoice for a HR audit, because it will depend on the size of the organization. For example, you can have a very big organization of 1,000 staff. So how you will cost that organization vis-a-vis an organization that has a population of 15 or 20 employees is different. You will look at also the time that you will be using to conduct, the duration that will be needed for you to conduct the HR audit. So that is very critical. Then you can also look at the number of employees within the organization and then attach a value to the employees. So for example, you can say that if an organization has 60 people or 100 employees, then you can attach a value to each employee depending on the functions that you'll be looking at or auditing, and then you make your quote. And also the HR processes. What processes are you looking at? You can, depending on the scope of the audit, if it is a functional audit, you are only limited to probably performance management. Then you can quote in terms of that particular function, how long it will take and the kind of policies, procedures you'll be looking at and documentation within that particular function. So I talked about how long it will take. It can take. Is there anyone those who have conducted HR audits? I have not seen your feedback. How long did it take in your organizations? You can help those who are asking these questions. So again, you can look at the number of consultants that will be on board, and then you can quantify the number of hours, man hours that will be needed to conduct the audit. And that is not exhaustive, but it is a guideline on how you can cost a HR. The other question was on a sample HR audit checklist. I think I can furnish you with one that can act as a guideline. You can customize it depending on the nature of the organization that is to have the audits. Back to you, Richard. Any other questions on what we have covered tonight?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can see people saying that you should bring Daktari again for other topics, and we shall do that exactly. But before we forget, Daktari, I want you to put your number on the chat. People might want you to conduct HR audits. People might want cake.
Okay.
I don't want us to forget. Please put your number. People might
Let
want
me
cake.
do that. Let me do that.
People might want cake from you. People might want HR audits from you. Please put your number. We are here to network as well.
Yes.
We are here to promote each other's sources of revenue and connections and networking. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your energy. You've been enthusiastic. You have opened our eyes and ears. Good. Simon, it will be sent. Every document that Daktari has mentioned will be sent on your email. Your certificate will be sent on your email. The recording will be sent to your email. Any other tool that we have, we will send it to your email. You can be sure of that. Now, anybody who wants something to say, who has something to say, you can unmute yourself and say what you have learned from Daktari and what you think you should do so that you can make HR practice an excellent practice. You can unmute yourself and say something that you have learned or something, a compliment, a comment. Okay? Thank you. Kindly unmute yourself. Those people who are burning, I know there are people who want to say, Daktari has said something very good. Daktari has said something I disagree with. Come up, come up, come up, come up and say something. Come up and say something. Daktari's number is 0722944085. Daktari's number is 0722994085. Anna is saying, thank you very much for this informative session. Very insightful. Thank you, Daktari. Patrick, unfortunately, we do not have CBD points. Probably something that we need to consider in the future. This is a well-spent evening. You're welcome. Melvin Kemuto, you're welcome. I'm sure you have been enriched. You can now contribute in conversations. Doreen, I say thank you very much, Daktari. Damaji, I say thank you a lot, Daktari. Who else has something to say?
I would like to ask, or there are those who said they have conducted HR audits in their organizations in the last 2 years, or they have conducted them recently. Kindly, you can share your experiences so that we also learn from each other. You tell us how your experience was and what we can avoid, or the pitfalls of those who have not done an audit, and what you took away from the exercise. Thank you.
What experiences can you share? What experiences can you share? Minayo has said, great session, Asante. Annette Otonda, I say thank you very much for this session. You're welcome. You're really welcome. Joy Aluoch, I say she really appreciates knowledge package, good team, Richard and Daktari, and we also have behind our technical person, that is Hosea. The challenge we faced was availing the documentation. Doreen is saying the greatest challenge to conducting HR audits is documentation. That is why we keep hiding the files, so that some document is not found to have missed, maybe a biographical data, maybe a letter of appointment. And you know, one of the benefits, it is legal litigation. It deals, documentation is about litigation. Lavenda Mumbi said this has been a great session. Thank you very much, Lavenda Mumbi. The challenge we face is documentation. How can we become very good in documentation? Because I can see one of the greatest challenges is the HR documentation. We need a special course for us. You're on mute. Daktari, you're on mute.
Yeah, sometimes one of the challenges I have realized is that when it comes to record keeping, the organizations who imagine anybody can do record management, which is not true. So you get somebody who has just done a HR course or has just done these broad areas of HR, and you're given that docket to do record management, and you're not well versed, you're not trained. And this is a critical area because you need to, there is a record, actually there's a course for record management and certification. Yes, there is. So when you equip your, hey, Simon, we can see you're having your dinner. Yes. So one thing you can do is to have a training intervention for staff. If you're going to give a HR staff to do documentation, equip them with skills. If they've not done record management, equip them. If they are not conversant with the systems that are in place, kindly train so that they are able to do that. Another thing is laxity. You find that we do not keep doing our own audit before we are audited. And the video I shared at the beginning, why we run around helter-skelter in our homes, is because we assume things. But when now you hear a visitor is coming, that is when you remember, oh, I have not been dusting somewhere. I have not been putting things away. That is when you're now trying to have corrective actions. So by having your own internal audit before even you do an external audit, that helps in continuous improvement. So that is Kaizen. So those two can really help in documentation.
Thank you, Daktari. Dorina is asking,
yes.
I mean, she's not asking, she's implying that one of the greatest problems to audit is resistance from management, which implies an element of change management. How can we overcome resistance from change management when you have the good intentions of conducting HR audits? There is a roadblock by management.
Wow. That's a tricky one because as somebody had alluded to earlier, there are skeletons you want to remain hidden and under the carpet. There are those ghost workers that are also contributing somehow to somebody's payslip somewhere. You don't want that to be evaluated and you don't want it to be seen and you don't want to expose yourself. It's a very tricky balance. You need sometimes for this buy-in, you really need to get that person. Like when I am doing corporate governance and I look at the board papers that come, the HR reports that come to the board in reporting. One of the recommendations that arises or after the reports that HR gives, one of the critical elements is sneaking in that element. We need to do a HR audit because of 1, 2, 3. Give it a business case. What will we be saving the organization for having this audit? Why do we need to conduct one? Of course, there are those who will make sure it doesn't see light of day because of very many factors. There are ghost elements within organizations. There are those people who, they are all sorts of employees in an organization. They have godfathers, godmothers, and everything in between. So there's a lot of resistance. So the culture of the institution and the kind of managers you're having, you need to learn it and see how you can get around. Sneak these aspects in some of your reporting, because definitely one auditor or somehow it will be seen and it will be a query and it will now become a compliance issue. So it will be said, no, we need to address this issue. It has come from HR for this number of times. We're having a high turnover and we need to do a skills analysis. We need to conduct this kind of intervention. So do not give up. You're a professional. This is your area, and you know when you need to do spring cleaning in your department. So don't give up. Keep raising the issues and and pray that it will not rub the others wrong way.
Thank you, Daktari. There is Eric Modomi saying the reason I propose to attend these kinds of trainings from Dandel. They are well packaged with informative sessions. Thank you, Daktari and Richie, for the session that is also there behind our, okay. Mercy Jumo is saying, Bana, documentation. You've heard, Mercy, there is a certification for documentation. If you want to become a guru of documentation,
record management.
Record management.
Yeah.
Esther Wairimo is saying, just joined, really wanted to be right on time, but got affected. We will share the presentation with you. We'll share anything that has been shared. As you've mentioned, Dr. the issue of resistance, probably we should start from managing change management so that we can know how people resist change, how can we overcome change management, how can we overcome, what are the benefits of change management.
Yeah.
Annette Otonda said, another challenge is that sometimes when there is an audit finding, the management may sometimes use the findings to discipline. So you're fearing, I think you're fearing that the person who initiated the HR audit will be punished for the gaps. That is part of the reason that HR audits or HR forensics fail. Great. Anybody wants to say something?
Before I forget, Richard, I really want to say something before I forget. And somebody has made me look very good this evening, and that is Osea. My presentations are on point.
Yes.
I really want to thank Osea for that input. Thank you very, very much for making me shine.
Yes.
You're welcome.
He is a guru of these things. He has invested so heavily in HRIT.
Yeah, we'll also be reaching out to learn. Thank you.
There is a question by Michelle. How should we audit HR systems?
I said what we are doing is not exhaustive. Systems, policies, procedures, they all follow the kind of the same route. You will look at what this system is doing. For example, what function? If I got the question correctly, for example, a system that comes to mind is HRIS, right?
Yeah, yes,
we are looking at. So it will depend on what specific items you want to audit. So if you are auditing the HR, the performance management function, or you're looking at exit, for example, compensation, then you will be able to get dashboards. You'll see one, how easy is it to retrieve information from this system? How user-friendly is it? Are staff aware that it exists? How is the interface? Are they able to use it? For example, if it is leave application, are they able to log into the system? If there is performance management, do they know how the system works? Or they are locked out before they even give out information? So there's a lot. It will be dependent on what you exactly want to look out for. The system, you will be looking at efficiency, effectiveness, the ability to interact with the system. How secure is it? We have data protection now. You need to know how secure is data online. Attacks, cyber security attacks. So how well are you not fireproof? How are you protected from these kinds of eventualities? So that is very critical.
Thank you, Daktari. Ahmed Mohammed, you have raised up your hand. Please say something.
I just want to echo the sentiments of Daktari. And I mean, at times it's unfortunate that most companies do not value the HR 100%. They usually view HR as a cost in most organizations. But I have a testimony to say that there was one time a company we had initiated some HR audits, but they didn't take it that serious. But when they were going for an ISO certification, they found out that most of the HR audits that I was putting across were actually being pointed out as an ISO need. So that's when now they started saying, oh, Kumbe, this HR knew what he was doing and these things we need to close. And that's when now you gain value in that organization. So do not give up, push on your agenda, push the HR audits across, make them feel that need. And then eventually they'll come and see the need at some point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed Mohammed.
Thank you.
Dr. There is a question from Eric.
Yes.
How do you communicate the findings, assuming the wound is very, very, very painful?
That's a tricky one, because sometimes you unearth issues, and even before these reports are released, you have to sanitize them, so to speak. That's a delicate, a very delicate process, because depending on the findings that you come up with, you will now be able to adopt a strategy on how best to communicate. There are those that you can release. You general issues that you can release, but there are those that if you release them as they are, not that you will not say they're not there, but you will have to package them in a way that does not cause a lot of commotion in the organization. You saw what happened in Garissa, and people were up in arms. After the HR audit was done, everybody is now going to the street to say our jobs are being taken. We need to safeguard our jobs. So there is, you have to, with the top management, because they're the ones who will have the benefit of seeing the report, and the HR manager, you're able to discuss what are these issues that we can, what are the strategies we can use in terms of giving the information, in terms of looking for interventions, and in terms of instituting corrective action. So that one, I will not, it is situational. The way you do the communication, just like the way we do the strategic plans, we don't come and say, this is the strategic plan. You come and cascade it down slowly to the departments. That is very essential. In ISO, we also have a similar model, because once you identify the gaps, there is that meeting that you have to suggest corrective action even before you do the report. So there are measures you will have in place to say that, yes, this was identified, this is a gap, but this is what we are doing as a corrective action. So it will not go to the final report, depending on what you come up with.
Thank you, Dagdari. John Miner is saying HR systems will need a good collaboration between the IT and the HR team. For example, you should be able to export data from the system and go through it, where you are able to pinpoint wrong data. I personally had an issue with the implementation of human resource information system because of wrong data. So there is need for collaboration between data management, IT, and human resources. So as we started, we said that buy-in. So buy-in has to include IT, has to include all departments, so that you can have a smooth sailing in seeing the, what else? Yes, Esther Werimo, we will send the checklist, as Doctor said. She will keep her words. We'll make sure that she keeps her words, that she will give.
Yeah, it is a guideline. It is a guideline, and you can customize it to depending on the need that you have in the organization. So it's just a guideline to show what you'll be looking out for.
Hosea, how soon can we have this presentation? Somebody who's asking. How soon? Is it today, tomorrow?
Maybe latest Saturday.
Latest Saturday. You've heard from the horse's mouth. The latest Saturday. Thank you very much, Hosea. Now, we want to be very good timekeepers. We have 3 minutes, and those 3 minutes, Daktari, parting shots.
My parting shot is that you guys are experts in what it is that you do. And look at HR audit as an opportunity to improve, an opportunity to enhance efficiency and productivity. So do not fear in addressing these issues. Take it positively, and I'm very sure it will help you, even as an individual, to be more efficient in the operations of the HR department. Thank you very much for everyone, your kind compliments, and also being very lively. And also, I didn't talk to myself. So thank you for being a great audience. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Maina, Rebecca. I am sure people will need your services. They have got your number. Dandel is also in the process of coming up with an online learning platform. If it is a record management, we'll put up some resources such that you can be able to learn at your own pace. We'll soon announce a learning process that is online. You can learn at your convenience. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been your host, Richard J. Magoma, or Mr. Positive Flavors. This is me signing off and saying, God bless you. For our Muslim brothers and sisters, Mubarak Karim. I don't know if I've said it correctly. I can see Simon is the one who is anafungua iftar. I don't know if I've said it correctly.
It's Ramadan Karim.
Ramadan Karim.
Mubarak.
Thank you very much, Hamid. God bless everyone. May God sustain you. May God see you successful in your daily endeavors. May you excel in your professional development. Bye-bye. Till next time, you will see the next program on your social media or on your internet. Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing
Thank
what you do,
you.
Richard.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You can say it in your language. You can say it in your language on the chat. You can say it on your language.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay, next.
Thank you.
Say it on the chat. Say it on you can say it on your chat. I want to see different languages, inclusivity. I've had merci beaucoup. Nimovea, Kareli, Flora, Bye, Dama, Wakonya. Simon, you can say that. Nyonyango, Ghanaian. You're in Ghana. Galtoma, Dibadeng, Galtoma. Midase, why? Ghanaian. Are you in Ghana? Onyango Dan. Newe Gamono, Esther Wairimo.
Yes, I'm in Ghana. Thank you.
Oh, great. Newe Gamono, Esther Wairimo, Galtoma, Diba Denge. That is from where? Diba. That is from where? Simon Frank is from TZ. Erokamano, Charti Owiti Erokamano. Denge is from Ethiopia. All the way. I have my niece is in Ethiopia, but I have a niece in Ethiopia. Great. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless you. May you all prosper. Thank you, Yomono. That is John Maina. Thank you. Gongoi, Amos Chepkwonyi. Thank you, Amos. Amos. Mercy has not trained me on how to say Gongoi. Mercy, you stand accused. Dama Asandi.